Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Lure Sports proudly brings to you the best racing podcast in the world. Now, here's your host, Lauren Leach, the color guy, Mark Allen, the Loose Lugs Racing Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Loose Lugs Racing Podcast, sponsored by the Corp Racing and Valley Gasket. Thank you, Tim, Ben, and Carrie, for all that you do for us. It's truly amazing. I know we say that every time, but it really is. Mark, episode 169, man, how you doing?
All right, man. I'm not in the man cave, as you can see, out at the campground, kind of inclement weather. But hey, man, if you're a race fan, last weekend, man, that's the racing weekend. There was a whole bunch of that stuff, huh?
Yeah, a whole bunch of racing going on. We talked about it at the end of the last podcast. You had everything going on. I mean, you had all three NASCAR series, Indy 500, Formula One. And that's just the national series, right? ARCA West was going on, both of those. Locally, a ton of tracks. I know you were at Plover and Jefferson with the Midwest Tour. There was a little bit of everything going on, man. You had to enjoy it.
That's Memorial Day weekend, that's what we do. So yeah, tons of racing for for race fans out there.
Yeah, we hope everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend. We hope that you took time, like we said on the last podcast there, to take time and, remember the folks that paid the ultimate sacrifice and also enjoy your life how they would want you to, right? That's another part of it, So I hope all that was involved with your Memorial Day weekend, and it was great.
That was really for sure. Hey, man, when we all line up on the front stretch at Jefferson, and all those guys there, and you just meet these strangers, they're all veterans, and every one of us, you hear it over and over again. So this ain't about us. This has nothing to do with us. We might represent, the military, but no, it's the ones that fallen and didn't come home, and the empty chair at home, during Thanksgiving and all that. That's the real meaning, and all the sacrifices that were made so that we could go out and enjoy all the racing and all the things that we love to do.
I know what you mean, and I totally agree with you. I also do think it's nice to be recognized, all the veterans, current service military members as well. Heck, even police officers, law enforcement, all the first responders. I think it is nice to be remembered. But the true meaning of Memorial Day, you are right there, and I think it's nice to, take note of that and enjoy it and remember those people who were ultimately affected, and let us live our lives how we want to today, right?
We have our day in November, so
Yeah.
and the free stuff like the free dillies at Dairy Queen, or if you go over to anywhere, go to A&W, man, get a free corn dog. Hey, it's just the little things like that. But we have our day in November, but this one here is a somber. One of my hardest weekends to get through, man, because of just because of what it is.
Yeah, and you're right. I think about when Taps plays, especially at the Indy 500, they always play Taps, and I know you mentioned that on the last one too, and it's hard to not get emotional about, but it was a great weekend. I know all those people that did pay the ultimate sacrifice are glad that we got out and lived our lives how we wanted to over the weekend, and like we do every day, because that's what they fought for. So, you think about that as well.
Yep. So it's just the way it works to be in this beautiful country. That's the way it is, man.
That's right. Well, hey, man, we got an exciting one ahead, like we always do here. This one I'm really looking forward to. This past Thursday, we opened the Fox River Racing Club season at Wisconsin International Raceway, and it was we were celebrating 50 years of Lowell Bennett racing, which is hard to fathom, to be honest with you. I know Lowell's been around for my whole life, is a legend of the sport, a great person, and we're going to have him on today. So that's very exciting. He's got a lot of accomplishments. I mean, he's a 5-time Slinger Nationals champion, a 5-time Fox River Racing Club Super Late Model champion, which is tied with Jeff Van Otenhoven and Scotty Hansen. for second all time. He's also a 5-time red, white, and blue champion at Wisconsin International Raceway, and a 7-time Slinger Super Late Model champion, which is the most all time down there. Steve Apel is catching him with 6. But so far, Lowell has all those accomplishments and more. And I can't wait to learn more about his story, what he thinks about racing today, and many other things. So why don't we go out and bring Lightning Lowell Bennett on, man?
We're going to the hotline. Let's do it, man.
Let's do it. All right, Lowell, thanks for joining us. Before you got on here, we were talking about how we just celebrated you starting 50 years of racing, which is just remarkable. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing just awesome.
Yeah, Lowell, I remember. Hey, I was up at Shawano, man, when you bought that Jerry Smith Blanchard car, man. I was there that night, so I'd have to say I'm showing my age with you, and it's been a long journey, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, and so many good, unforgettable times along the way. Deal here, and I was going through some of my trophies and bringing some of the special ones, like my very first win, feature win, my very first track championship, my first trophy. My first track championship came up at Shawano, so this goes back a long, long ways. And so, you look, it's like, wow, a guy shouldn't be able to have this many wins in a lifetime, but I'm a pretty blessed man.
We always start these things by kind of going back to the beginning, and I guess we'll start with you here, doing that as well. Started racing up in Shawano, but prior to racing, did you know that you always wanted to race, or did you have other interests prior to getting into racing yourself?
No, that's all I wanted to do. Since I was a kid, and there's pictures of me, 3-4 years old, standing by my dad's '33 Plymouth Coupe at Shiocton, and standing with my mom and dad, and all the time growing up, it's just like I couldn't wait to get to be old enough and be able to buy a stock car and be able to race. So that dream came through when I was 17, and I bought my dad's car, which was formerly Jerry Smith's car, and Dad built a new Camaro, and that's what we debuted up at Shawano, and it would have been probably the first week of May in 1976.
How long did you stay racing on the dirt up in Shawano there, and what year did you pick up that first championship?
Well, I raced dirt and blacktop, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. 81, I won my first championship. That was at Shawano. And that same year in 81, I was Rookie of the Year at Slinger. And I think I was like 4th place at Kekana, all with the same car. I was the last person left in the state running dirt and blacktop with the same car. That came around to 1982, and the rules had changed, and the cars were divided so much that either I would have had to buy another car to race dirt, or just go blacktop racing. So I went blacktop racing.
Hey, but all those years of dirt racing, did that actually propel you to be a better driver on the blacktop?
Oh, absolutely. There's things that you learn and able to save a car and be able to react, and many, many things that you're going to learn along the way. And there was a lot of dirt tracks that I raced at. I raced at Shawano, De Pere, Seymour, Oshkosh, Wausau at the fairgrounds, Hales Corners. So I was fortunate enough to race at a lot of different dirt tracks along the way, and as I have in the blacktop along the way too.
A lot of people say that if you can run well at Slinger and at WIR in Kekana there, you can pretty much run anywhere. You are a 5-time champion out at WIR. You're a 7-time champion out at Slinger. Would you agree with that statement? I've always been curious about that when I hear it.
Yeah, I really do. There's most tracks I can go to, I can adapt to right away. For instance, we went down to New Smyrna, and we used to run the World Series of Asphalt Racing down there. And I think I went down there maybe seven times. and actually won the World Series down there in 1997. So, you know, you go to other places and you just adapt to what it is. You know, I don't care if it's going to Norway or, you know, the one track I had a little problem with, I was only at once, and that was at Wausau, and it's such a gripless track it was. So the asphalt track there, and you know, I would have had to go back with a different package if I was going to go back again. But you know, for the most part, I've been able to adapt to pretty much any track. You know, I went and ran the Busch Series for a while, and you know, got in the Busch car and wheeled that pretty successfully for being a self-funded team. Had some fairly decent finishes with that.
What went into that decision to try Busch Series racing a little bit, like you just talked about? That's a big undertaking to go from this level up to the Busch Series or Xfinity Series as we know it now.
It was, you know, some factors along the way. You know, we had really good sponsors at that era. You know, in the late '90s and early 2000s, and you know, I was making really good money racing. I mean, I was at Slinger, I was hauling in 30 grand a year racing at Slinger. So, you know, we had a little bit of money put away, and we thought about it, and it's like, well, do we pay in the money to Uncle Sam for the taxi, or do we reinvest it and buy something else for a race car? So we decided to buy a Busch car.
But every year, you know, thinking way back till now of all the technology and how it changes every year, you got to stay on top of that every year, don't you?
Oh yeah, and even at our local level, it has changed so much. You know, and some of the guys get left behind. You know, there's some years I've struggled in the recent year, and it's been a little bit to learn all of this. But lately, it seems like I've picked up on things, and we've had a pretty good little hot rod. We've had pretty good finishes here already this year.
You've had success pretty much everywhere you go, and we just talked about the changes, specifically kind of over the last decade or so. A ton of technology has come into even the local level here. What are some of the changes that you necessarily didn't like seeing or don't like about the sport currently, and maybe would like to see changed?
Well, what I'm really against is how much these race cars are starting to cost, and the cost of doing what we're doing, because we can't charge our fans anymore and still get a crowd, and there isn't enough to pay us more money for what we're spending. Like I mentioned, in the late '90s, I was making 30 grand a year racing at Slinger. I mean, I'd be happy to make 30 grand a year racing for a whole year at 2 or 3 tracks now. In the cost of everything. I mean, tires are, pushing $200 a piece, and I mean, just to set up brake pads, you're talking $200. Just little brake fluid. You buy a can of brake fluid, that's $100, and all these little aspects of what we do is really ruining our sport. It really hurts me to see the decline in cars. When I came up through the ranks, I mean, from back in the 70s and in the 80s and 90s, I mean, there was a lot of times, like at Slinger, we'd have 50, 55 super late models. And, now to see what we've got for total car count is, it's diminishing just because of the cost.
On the flip side of that, what are some changes that maybe you've liked seeing over the years?
Well, definitely safety would be number one. I mean, our safety has gone so far, with the seating and the head restraints and the neck restraints and the helmets, and all of our safety has gone to a whole new level. Which, running at the speeds we are right now, I think that's the most important part of it all.
I was going to ask you, when you started out at Kakana, they were turning 23 seconds, trying to fight the 22, and now we're turning 18s. Is it too fast out there, man? Are these cars going too fast these days?
My honest opinion, I'm not scared to go that fast, but I don't think the racetrack is designed to go that fast. The fencing around it, the walls. We didn't need this tire to be a bunch faster than what we had. I mean, it's a great tire, and it's fast, and it seems to repeat and hold out pretty well. but we didn't need it to be faster than what we had. The shutdown time, you know, while you're out of the throttle is not long at all. I was out testing yesterday with the car I'm going to run on Thursday, and it's crazy how little bit of time you're actually off the throttle, and the rest of the time you're wide open. So you're wide open before the middle of the corner, and you're driving it way past the start finish line. That's not much shutdown.
What do you think is the right answer to slow these cars down, or what changes can we possibly make to make it safer?
Well, I think what's just going to eventually happen here, and I hate to say it because I love super late model racing at the level we are, but I think the super late models are going to become more of a tour series. And, you know, your big races like the Dixieland or La Crosse or Madison, and, you know, they'll be at the big races, but your weekly race that, you know, is $1,000 to win, you know, is just, there's not going to be enough people that are wealthy enough to do this. And I think we're just going to continue to lose car count as we have over the last, you know, 5-8 years. And unfortunately, I don't want to be negative, but I think we're going to have to switch gears and go to something more like a crate motor and restrict the suspensions a little bit and just get the cost back down on these cars. Now, I do have a crate car that I also run. I have 3 cars, and I have a car that's got a crate motor. And, you know, I've run that at Marshfield. I've run it at Plover. I've run it at Norway. I've run it at Slinger. And when you're in the car, even though if you're on 10-inch tires or 8-inch tires, the car is still at the edge of its speed. So it's still thrilling. And you don't even really realize that you're going a little bit slower. Neither do the fans. They still see a great show. But do keep one thing in mind: as we go faster and faster, the racetrack gets narrower and narrower because you need more real estate to run that car on. So passing becomes very difficult. So that being said, slowing them down a little bit is not a bad thing. And what do I think is the answer for the future? I think it's just going to have to fall in place for itself. And I just hate to see what we're doing die off, but you know, it's showing itself already. And many people have predicted this. You know, many wise, intelligent people.
Something you brought up there that was interesting to me, and I thought back to the Dixieland, I believe it was 2 years ago, when we had 4 barrels on the car with the ASA Stars National Tour. The line into turn 3 was visibly different because you were carrying much more speed on the 4 barrel. So when you said that, I initially thought back to that and could relate to seeing that, needing more real estate and everything by going faster. I want to go back though to celebrate more of your 50 years here. So going back, you make the decision to go primarily blacktop or asphalt racing here. What made you choose to kind of focus on Slinger and WIR, or did you have different plans, or how much did you travel throughout kind of the 80s after you made that decision?
You know, travel was, you know, in state. You know, I used to go to the Dells and Madison and, you know, Norway, Michigan, and you know, some of these tracks around. I ran some hardcore races. You know, we run down at Rockford and some of this kind of stuff, but I mainly focused around here. And now, do keep in mind, I've always been self-funded and owned all my own equipment, and had to be a little more on the conservative side because I'm paying everything out of pocket. I'm not that wealthy of a man to do that. So that did limit me a little bit. Unfortunately, nowadays, what limits us is also on getting crew help. You know, it used to be in the day where you had, you know, 10 guys working on your crew. And, you know, I've had two of my guys have passed away, and, you know, 2 other ones have health issues, and one of them moved away. And so I find myself really struggling to find good crew help. And that limits how fast you can turn cars around and get back to the next track, you know?
Yeah, we know how that is with help because everybody's looking for that. Hey, man, over 50 years, man, who was the most challenging driver or probably like a thorn in the side, or somebody that was awesome that you couldn't beat? Who's on the top of that list that was the most challenging for you?
Well, I wouldn't say the most challenging. I'm gonna change that just a little bit, and I'm gonna say guys that just balls out raced the heck out of you, and you never had a problem with them. Al Schill and I at Slinger just put hundreds and hundreds of laps on side by side, and we'd get done and we'd both be all sweated up over in the tech area, and man, that was fun. And it didn't matter if you finished second to the guy, because it was so much fun racing side by side, just all in all racing. And I've had the same thing with Terry Baldry at Kakana. The way that we used to race, it's changed a lot now. Now that the cars are faster, we don't quite have that side by side, and I do kind of miss that. Guys that were a thorn because they were so fast. There's been multiple people along the way, but my dad used to always say, every dog has his day, and so I've had my days too. So those two people were the ones that come to my mind where I put probably the most laps on side by side with.
I want to kind of reword what Mark was saying too, and maybe it's the same answer. Would you consider those two your biggest rivals, or who are your kind of biggest rivals that you would consider going through the years?
Well, it depended what you were racing. Now, if you were running a red, white, and blue, and Dick Trickle and Tom Refner and Marzofka and Bach and all the guys from Central Wisconsin would come over, as well as our guys that were really hot in our area, and then you get the guys coming up from Slinger and Madison and Milwaukee. I mean, that was some tough, hombres come up here, and back in those days, it was a big thing just to make the race when you had 50 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. The red, white, and blue state championship series used to be split from Thursdays nights. Now we put it together there. What are your thoughts about having it on Thursday nights? And maybe would you like to see that split off at some point if we can?
I don't think that just economy and cost would really allow that. That's why it ended to be where it is. Back in the day when we had that many cars, and we used to have red, white, blue was on a Saturday night, and then it switched, or Sunday afternoon, and then we switched to Saturday nights, and but we were all pretty hungry to race. We used to run the red, white, and blue at Kakana on Sunday afternoon and load it up, take it to Slinger, and it'd be cool down when you get there and change your gears and stuff you needed to, and run again at Slinger. We'd run twice in a day. You wouldn't see that nowadays. I tell people back in the day we used to race 5 nights a week and work on the car 1 night a week. Now we work on the cars 5 nights a week to race it 1 night a week, just because it takes so much time.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? Hey, man, how is it to race with Brazen, your son, man? You've seen him grow up, come through the ranks and everything. Do you race him harder? Does he race you harder? How does that all work between you two?
I love racing with my son. We trust each other. When we race each other just like you would race somebody else. You don't say, "Oh, that's my son, I'm just going to give it to him," or Dad, you can have this one. No, we race each other. We've had a lot of side by sides together, both at Kakana. We had a bunch actually this year out at La Crosse. So racing with your son is a pretty cool deal. I'm very proud to be able to do that.
Yeah, and you got multiple children racing. Journey is doing the drag racing and all that. What's that like, watching multiple children in different aspects of racing?
Oh, it's really a good time. The drag racing thing was never really a big deal until when Brazen was young, and I'd take him to the drag races when they'd have the jets and stuff, and he said, "Dad, I really want one of those little dragsters. I want to do that." And I said, "Well, I don't know if I have time to do that with you, buddy. I'm so busy, So he goes home and he asks his mom. He says, "Mom," he says, can I get one of the little dragsters?" She says, "Oh, sure." So all you got to do is get A's on your report card. So he goes and he gets all A's on his report card. We bought him a little dragster, and that's where that all started. So all 3 of my kids ran the little junior dragsters, and We had a world of fun doing that. And Journey decided to stay in the drag racing, and now she's got a full-size dragster. My daughter's season went into racing off-road, and now she's this year going to give her try at circle track racing over at Plover. So a guy's giving her an older car to use, and so she went to debut it a couple weeks ago, and the clutch went out. So it'll be probably 3 more weeks, and she'll be up at Plover trying it again.
Everyone talks about there'll always be a Sauter racing the rest of their lives up in Wisconsin, but would you agree that it's looking like there will be a Bennett racing for the rest of time as well?
Oh yeah, and you definitely can't forget about all my brothers and stuff. My brother Joel just won the Dirt Kings race on Friday night at Seymour.
Yep.
My brother Dave, he runs up at Lake Eagle River and stuff with a late model on the dirt, and so there's a bunch of us out there, just kind of like the Sauter family.
Hey man, what keeps you motivated? How long, man? How long can you go? I mean, are you going to be like the Jerry Eckhart? Are you going to go that far? I mean, it's still fun for you, but what keeps you motivated, man?
Well, as long as the good Lord gives me good health like I have, I thank him every day for what I have for health, and being 67 years old and still being able to get up on the wheel and do what I like to do, and it's still thrilling to me, and I guess when it's not fun anymore or I'm not good at it, maybe that's the time to hang it up. But at this point, I still feel like I'm strong. I look at some of the guys like up at Shawano, Jerry Munster. He's 84 years old, still at it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome to see you continue on like that, man? Hey, you're coming off a pretty good opener with the Fox River Racing Club, finishing inside the top 5, where we celebrated you starting 50 years of racing. So, how was that night celebrating that and coming home with the top 5?
Well, I was really happy with that. We bottomed the car out qualifying, as I did not have a good qualifying effort. We qualified 11th, and normally with the dice roll, that would have put me on the pole, and I'd have been in pretty good shape. But being that there was only 15 cars the other night, they went back to a 6-car plus the roll of the dice, which put me back into the 11th. So, to make it up to 5th, and I had set the fastest lap of the race on lap 32 of anybody. So that was, my car really came on and was strong at the end. So I was pretty happy with our accomplishment the other night.
You had a pretty fun battle with Andy Monday, who's maybe rivals the wrong word, but you guys have had some side-by-side battles and moments over the years. What was that like coming to the finish, trying to get by the 10 car?
Oh, it's always fun. He and I race good together and have a lot of fun. And, I do have to really compliment Andy on his professionalism and, what he does for our sport. He's got a little more time to do some of that stuff than I do. But, the promotion and stuff like that, Andy's a great guy.
Hey, I was out talking to a race team out at Plover, and they were asking me if I noticed anything different about the racetrack its surface itself. And they're saying, like down in turn 4, coming out down low, was said that it's just not like it used to be. And it seems like the front end of the car is kind of waving across. Did this track gain any character, any different bumps or something through the winter?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't notice anything different. It's somewhat rough. It's been patched in a lot of different places. That was paved in 1968. The first big race there was June 2nd of 1968. Was a USAC race, and I was in the grandstand, by the way.
Me too.
That was when that was paved, and that has not been paved since or ground. So it's pretty remarkable. They did a fantastic job when they paved it. That pavement is very, very thick on that place. So it stood up pretty well, and the track has its character of what it is. If you repaved that place, it would be dangerously fast.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's one of the things that people walk up to me and the most and say this place needs to be repaved. And honestly, you drivers have said many times you don't want it because it would be too fast. And here we're talking going underneath 19 seconds on a consistent enough basis here, where you're right, it would be dangerously fast here. Um, my next question is, obviously we celebrated 50 years. You've been around a long time now, which is great. Have you, other than your son and daughters, have you mentored any drivers, and who were they, and how did that go about?
Well, we worked with Lidke's, Austin Lidke, started off and ran at Slinger and stuff, and we mentored him and helped him along the way. There's been a lot of people, over the years that we've helped a little here and a little there. Um, but I'm always willing to lend a hand or give somebody advice or whatever to make them better and make our sport better.
How often does that happen on Thursday nights or throughout the season, where maybe someone's having an issue with someone and comes talk to you about handling it, even maybe that type of mentorship as well? Because I feel like I would be one where I want to get the guy who's been at this a while on how to handle some situations that I'm dealing with.
It probably used to be more of that years ago than what we see now. It seems like people are more on their own now, and they just want to do it on their own. Um, Back in the day, like I wouldn't be afraid to talk to Dick Trickle or any of the big guys. Joe Shear was fantastic. I used to park by Joe at Slinger, and I mean, he was always there to give you some good advice and stuff like that. But I don't think we have that as much anymore.
Hey man, who do you want to thank, man? Who got you to this point behind the scenes, man? Not only your wife Sue, but who else can you thank out there?
The first one that comes to my mind has got to be John J. Mayer. John J. Mayer is sponsored and helped us since 1978. My third year of racing, and John came on board, and he's helped us along the way, and just been a big asset to us. The sponsors that we have this year, Golden, Iron, and Metal, have been just fantastic the last few years. Froggy at PMF. We've got Primers Auto Salvage, Ken Sports, Monday and Associates, Frederickson Masonry, El Shaddai Church, Dale Gaston Oil, Sunoco Fuels. These people really, really do make it possible for us to do what we do.
I want to talk about some more of your 50 years here as we end this thing. What are some of your fondest memories of starting racing and racing on the dirt?
Oh, on the dirt? I have a lot of fond memories on the dirt. I go back to, racing at Oshkosh and De Pere used to have, De Pere, believe it or not, was a NASCAR sanctioned dirt track. In I think 78, 79, that was NASCAR sanctioned, and they used to get big NASCAR stars to come up there and race against us for big specials. And some of the big specials that Paul Kazarowski had up there, and guys would be up here from Iowa, and that there again you'd see 50, 60 cars, and the level of competitiveness back then was pretty tough too.
How about the asphalt in your early seasons, kind of racing asphalt, and maybe after you committed to asphalt only? What are some of your finest memories there? Obviously, we talked about being a 5-time red, white, and blue Fox River Racing Club champion. You're a 5-time Slinger Nationals champion and a 7-time Slinger Weekly champion down there. But what are some of your finest memories, and maybe things that you'll take away for the rest of your life?
Your big wins. For me, it was probably red, white, and blue wins were really big. Probably one of my biggest and fondest memories was winning the World Series in Florida. Because there was a lot of good equipment down there, and a lot of dollars, and we went down there and won a championship. Slinger has been just, we won 83 features at Slinger. and that's a lot of times to take checkered flags and that. You can't hardly fathom that you've won there that many times, but every time is thrilling for me. If I won there, next time I went there, it would still be thrilling for me. So yeah, a lot. I have so many fond memories. We couldn't even cover part of them here.
All right, last thing here, Lowell. We appreciate your time so much. What does the future, maybe this year, for as far as traveling, kind of a two-part question here, I should say. Are we going to see you travel a little bit other than run the Fox River Racing Club weekly show? And then what does the future hold for you? You got 50 years in. What does the next 5, 10 look like?
Well, believe it or not, last year I raced 7 different tracks. And so we made some rounds, and got around, and I'm hoping to do the same this year again. I'd like to make some big races. Last year I went to Oktoberfest, and I went there one time in 1986. That's the only time I've been to Oktoberfest, and we did that last year. And we did the Dixieland last year, so I really enjoy the long races. I don't tire, I don't fatigue, and I can just stay up on the wheel, and I really always have enjoyed the long races. So moving forward as to what I'm going to do, I'm just going to keep doing that. We've got 3 different cars. We've got the green car we'll be running at Kaukauna. We got the red car that I ran last week, and then I've got that little crate car. So last year I ran the crate car at Norway, at Plover, and at Marshfield. So I just take it kind of race by race and see if we have enough help to do things. And last year there was nights I went up to Norway all by myself. There was some guys that met me up there from way up in the Northwoods, and they crewed for me and helped me a little bit. But sometimes it's just hard to get that help that you need to get that stuff done.
I just thought about another thing here. So just one thing. Your faith has always been most important to you. When you get out of the car, the first thing you do is you thank the Lord, and you've done it on here a few times, which is so great. How did your faith come about, and why is it so important to you? Because I think that's just an awesome trait of yours.
It's a family thing, my grandparents and my father and everything. We're all born again Christians, and we're not afraid to say that the Lord is our Lord of our life. And for me, I'm not afraid to thank Him, because He's the one that gives us life every day.
Absolutely. Nicely said there, Lowell. Hey, Lowell, I'll tell you what, there's some people that come on here and they somehow come up with some good luck. So we're going to see if that works for you tomorrow night, man. So put a trophy on top of that thing. We'll come down and celebrate with you.
I will give it my very, very best, pals.
Hey, Lowell, like I said before, I appreciate you so much, getting to know you over the years that I've been announcing and everything. You're someone who I looked up to for a long time, watching my uncle Zuma Newman go around the track, and my cousin Rod Wheeler, and you've always been great to me and great to us. So we appreciate it so much. I can't say that enough, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
All right, very good. If you ever need to do another podcast, I'd be happy to do it with you guys. Thank you for everything, and thank you for what you do for our sport.
Hey, man, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Yep, bye
now. Well, man, that was great to have Lowell on, celebrating 50 years, like we said multiple times prior and during the interview. Just an exceptional career that he's had. An exceptional driver, great driver, legend of the sport, an exceptional person, willing to help everyone. I can't tell you how many times I've heard in the pits saying, yeah, we had this issue with someone else, and I grabbed Lowell to try to help me out with this situation and mentorship that. And you heard some of his comments there, but man, the Bennetts are running strong, and it's so great to see Lowell keep going.
And you also got to love his style. You never see him rough anybody up, and everybody races him with respect. If you want to talk about, somebody that drives just the way he's supposed to, everything, Lowell Bennett's top of the list of that one, man.
Yeah, for sure. And, we talked about last week, he came on with the top 5. looked like he was better than Andy at the end of the race, but he settled for a top 5. And I was kind of watching, and I was like, that would be a cool storyline if he could get into the top 5, being celebrating his 50 years of racing last week. So that was kind of a cool moment to take away a top 5 in the night where we kind of thought about him and celebrated him.
Still fast, dude. He's still fast. So yeah, keep her going, man. We'll see you. You can always get fast time, and yeah, there's no reason why he can't win out there for sure, man.
No doubt. I expect to see him winning well into the future. And we saw him at Plover Racing. You've heard him go up to Norway. I know Brazen's traveling a little bit too, and they're just great for the sport.
Yeah, he ran Slinger earlier this spring too. So yeah, he travels, he gets around. So that's good stuff.
And the other thing, it's cool to hear his story and celebrating the 50 years and all that he's been through, and some of the changes maybe he hasn't liked to see, and some of the changes he has liked to see. He's seen a lot, and I was curious to pick his brain on that, and maybe we could have even done that more. Really dive deeper into it, but he's seen so much, and he did a good job covering it there in the interview. And I like picking people's brains with that because obviously, I've been out at WIR since I've been 10 months old, since 91, but I haven't realized all the changes that it's necessarily gone through and been mechanical. So that was cool to see what he experienced and what he has seen and what he'd like to see for the future.
Could you imagine, from starting from there, and that's where that question came up, where the technology changes every year, and you got to be top of it. And he said some got left to the side on that, and it just the performance gets better and better every year. That's probably the most amazing thing, that you can adapt and adjust to that year after year after year, and and he's still doing it, man. Keep on rocking.
To be able to adapt that when you're in the back half of your career, when you're losing help, you hear it in the unfortunate two of his members have passed away. I'm sure he's lost a few members throughout the way, just to other things as well. And you heard he's gone up to Norway a few times by himself to keep up and be competitive in those circumstances. What better way can you say that you've persevered and you've been successful by experiencing all of that?
And it's still fun. That's the huge part, man. As long as he's having fun, keep on going, man.
Fun is number one, right?
That's the reason why they're all doing it, man, and entertaining us and having fun. That's all we ask for, man.
That's right. Well, I can't thank Lowell enough for coming on. Mark, you and I know that we experienced some technical difficulties, so we had to do audio with him. Hoping to have him back on again, even if it's audio or video, it doesn't matter to me. Just talking to a legend of the sport like Lightning Lowell Bennett is incredible.
Yeah, we like to see his handsomeness on here, so we tried, and next time once we get the bugs worked out, man, we'll get him back on here.
Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to him about being a 5-time Slinger Nationals champion, a 7-time Slinger Super Late Model champion, 5-time FRRC champion, second all time there, and a 5-time Red, White, and Blue champion. I mean, just an incredible driver there, and we can't thank him enough again for coming on. Let's transition and and talk about the rest of last week out at the opener for the Fox River Racing Club. Let's start with the Wisconsin Sport Trucks there. Another driver that is hot at the beginning of the year here, Mason Kelmus, man. He took the win. He won the Friday night Spring Classic race out at WIR2 the week before, and he continued that success on Thursday night.
Yep, and I saw him out at Plover, and he won the dash race, but he had a mechanical deal that shut him down on the feature. But I'll tell you what, he's fast, and he's a chip off the old block. Definitely see Kyle running around helping him out. Good guy to have in the corner there for him too. So, but yeah, that 08 truck is a fast one out there.
For sure. How about this one? In the Sizzlin' Fours out there, Alex DeGroot took the win. He's going to be team driving with Billy Schomer this year in that 4-car. And I had asked him in the interview, and we talked a little bit after, that was his first win out at WR, in his first race at WR. And we talked after, that was his first race ever not only just at WIR, that was his first race ever, and he took home the win. How about that, man?
Yeah, and then I put the video out on like who's the driver, and I went to Racing Monitor, and it kind of was abbreviated, and I just like I didn't know what to do, So I waited till the next day, and somebody made a reply, "Way to go," and put his name there, and so then I went and changed it over, so he got the recognition that he deserved to get that video out there for his first victory. Pretty cool, dude.
It was funny because I was calling the heat race, and kind of the first few weeks are interesting when you have team drivers. So we thought it was Billy Schomer in the car. Yeah, there were some interesting things going up in the tower with drivers, how they signed in on the wrong sheet or didn't sign with their number. So I thought it was Billy Schomer who had filled in for his brother Eli Schomer, who we know is very fast, and he won a heat race when he filled in a year or two ago for Eli. So I thought it was Billy, and I looked in, and it was Alex there, and then found out not only was it his first race at WR, but his first race ever. What an incredible feat for Alex DeGroot.
That's awesome. So now we know who he is, right? He's on the map.
That's right.
So congrats on that win, man.
In the street stocks division, not only did he get to race this car on Friday night for the Spring Classic, he hopped back in it for the opener as well. Dylan Wenzel in the grocery getter for Greg Hauser took the win there in the super stocks.
Yeah, and he celebrated by sitting on top of it afterwards and with the trophy, and that was a good video. So that was pretty cool. Hey, that Ford, yeah, you call it grocery getter, sure has a way of getting around that place, man. It's always been relevant.
It has. The quarter mile late models, then they have two features, of course. First one was run by Rick Spoo, and the second one by Henry Neerdales. Very close racing there in the quarter mile late models. They had two very good features.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Them 15 laps go really fast, man. And and when they invert them for the second race, and quite interesting stuff, man. They race hard, but it was all good, clean stuff, man. Looked good to me.
Yeah, that first one, Rick Spoo had won there. I forget who he was battling with. Actually, I think it was Henry Neerdales had a good shot to win that, and Henry ended up making some contact and spinning out there. So Henry came close to winning both of them. In the second one, Neerdales had some contact as well. Nothing really he could do about it, but he had to hang on to that one as well.
Yep. Well, if anybody can beat the Bowman number 6 racer, you've done something out there because he come out of the box pretty hot.
In that second one, I was just talking Henry held on there, excuse me. Ty Feetzer got to the inside in 1 and 2 on that final lap or with 2 to go, and unfortunately went around there. But Ty Feetzer had a pretty good run and had a shot at it at the end. But like I said, Henry Neerdales took it.
Yep. So we'll look forward to them. See, they don't run this week; they run next week. So get her all fixed up, and we'll see them back out there next week.
Well, we just heard from his father. Brazen Bennett won in the late models there on Thursday night.
And he had to work for that one to get up there. And he earned that one, man. He passed them all, got at the end, and good run for him.
Yeah,
so
he came a long way to work his way through traffic there.
Yeah, I seen him over at Plover and said, how many wins you got? He said 3, out of 5. So, well, now it's 3 out of 6. Still running a 50% batting average, man. Can't beat that, man. That's good stuff for him to start out the year.
Yeah. How about this guy taking the opener for the Foxborough Racing Club in the super late models? Jordan Thiel found victory lane once again.
Boy, and that Griesbach was right on his heels, and we know how hot he's been to start the race. And man, Jordan was pumped in the pits, dude. He was happy, and a great way to start the year for him. So yeah, awesome victory there.
No doubt. And ending the evening in victory lane was the showstopper, Mike Meyerhofer Jr., taking the figure 8 portion.
Yep. Well, when he pulled up, we all know who that is. So yeah, he got her done there. There was only 4 left standing there, but yeah. Anyway, got the victory there.
Yeah. Continuing on the short track thing here, Mark, you were down at the Salute to Troops 100, which we talked about a little earlier on, down at Jefferson Speedway with the Midwest Tour. This is amazing to me. Jevin Goralski gets redemption from the Tundra race at WIR and takes the win down there.
he went to the outside of Casey Johnson and beat him at his own track. I was walking through the pits when I did a video, and I come around the corner, and I just like, this can't be the same 20 car, right? I found out this last weekend that car is Miss Ella, and that is an old-time Majeski car, and it's got many victories on that. I think it's got the Nationals victory, so that car's been around. Nobody could believe that car, as badly destroyed as it was at Kaukauna, only thing that was on the side of that right side was just the number on it. And man, they rebuilt that one, and it was on a rail, man, and it was good to see.
When I saw that right side door, I thought that looks like they changed that right side of the car, and it's the same car from the Tundra race there, which is absolutely incredible because he hit a ton, man.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And hey, another track record fell, Levon Vandergeest, got another track record that's fallen. Man, we're getting a lot of new track records being reset around here.
Yeah, that tire, talking about grippiness and maybe some of the technology advancements here and people figuring some things out have really made a lot of track records fall lately.
Yeah, so, but otherwise, a little bit of a smaller crowd. Usually we see traffic out to the highway. There was parking stalls available. Got a little bit cold in the middle of the race. The wind picked up, and there's that cold east wind that kicked in again at the end. But, oh, man, I love Jefferson, and I love the way they raced down there, and it was just a heck of a show, man. Sure enjoyed that down there.
I got to get back down to Jefferson, man. I got to make it to that race or a different race down there. I've only been there once. I got to make it back down there because it's just an awesome track.
And to salute the troops, man. And I tell you, they just don't do no better than that. Give you a $5 voucher so you can go out and get yourself whatever you'd like, and you get to meet a whole bunch of veterans, down on the track and the racing, and the drivers all come up, man. We feel the love, we feel the honor, and it's nothing better, man. It's worth the price of admission going down there.
Absolutely. And I know Ken Noyce commented that we should go down for a weekly night. I actually brought that up to you and seeing if we can make that happen to go down for a weekly night or maybe something else. I know we're kind of talking about going to the Indy 500 next year, so that would throw the Salute the Troops out of next year. But we'll figure it out. We'll get back down there for sure. It's a great place.
We will find that out. So yeah, I camping in that area down there, middle of August maybe, and there's a possibility that I can find myself drifting over to Jefferson for a nightly show. So there is something on the back burner where I could possibly make that happen.
All right. Well, we'll be talking off air here.
Okay. Yep, for sure.
Let's just continue down kind of the racing thing here. How about you were over at Plover on Monday, Memorial Day, and John Beal won the Trickle 99.
Ooh, we got roasted over there, dude. I actually I'm really, really tan off of that one. They got some major sun, quite the warm, sunny day. But John Beal, I'll tell you what, dude, he won the dash. I mean, he beat Mondyke in the dash like that, and then come back, and he was rather far back, and he picked them off one at a time, boy. And once when he got out to the front, and around he went, and that car was on a rail. That team has had some bad luck, he popped the motor when I was up there for the opener, and we saw what happened with Dalton Zier. And yeah, Dalton had the tools in the hand, and Johnny had the wheel in his hand, and he was quite pleased, and it was just an outstanding performance out of the Gillan team.
Yeah, and you just mentioned he beat Justin Mondyke, who had won the night before down at Slinger there. So that was an accomplishment to beat Justin Mondyke off a win down at Slinger.
Yeah, it was. And, there were some guys that were actually finding out that upper groove was actually working really well. And there was guys that were really picking off a few of them at the end. The two, De Boer, he went from like 7th to 3rd at the end on the outside to get a podium finish, man. That was really awesome. I was wondering if he was just going to pull that off and just keep right on coming, but he ran out of laps.
Yeah, it looked like a couple of great events there. I know Dirt Kings were also in action. You heard uh, Lowell talk about his brother Joel taking the event there. So there was some good dirt racing going on as well this weekend.
King of the Park, first one up there, man. And if it wasn't so Thursday, Saturday, Monday was so busy, it crossed my mind to go up there and look like they had a good show up there, man. I'll be catching up the Dirt Kings up at Seymour in August, so I will be up for that one. I love the Dirt Kings, man. They put on a good show.
Absolutely. We got to have Jason Schultz on here. I know we've talked to him recently about doing that. So he's another one on our list here in the near future. Any other short track racing events that you want to talk about?
I thought that was pretty awesome that Derek Kraus pulled off the Stars victory down in Newport, Tennessee. That was a 300 lapper, man, and wow, Derek showed him how a Northern boy could go down there and kick some butt. So very impressive win for Derek Kraus.
That was awesome too, and he kind of just bided his time, took care of the thing, and then took off at the end.
Yeah, that was a awesome race for him. And then especially then the next day, he had to go run the cup race, and he might have ended up like 12 laps down. But guess what? He was doing it, man. And nothing tougher than a Charlotte 600. Here's the keys for a Charlotte 600, man. That's got to be a tough deal. But I have a feeling I think he finished every lap, so good for Derek Kraus.
Yeah, that's got to be uncomfortable going to a team that you haven't driven for before, a team that's I don't think it's any secret that they've not top notch. They've been struggling, trying to find speed, all that stuff, and to go from winning Newport to go there, and you haven't raced a cup car in since last year at some point. I thought that was very impressive. He had an impressive weekend there for Derek Kraus, and he should be very happy about it.
Very much so. So, hey, when I make those pit walks, you'd be amazed of how many people come up and say, how was Kaukauna on Thursday? How was Kaukauna on Thursday? I'm going, everybody was happy. Nobody got mad at anybody. Nobody wrecked really bad. And I said it was all good. But it's amazing how many people they said, well, it's a good thing they got that out of their system from the Tundra race. Well, really, you'll have races like that. You'll have there was a grinder for the opening week, but it was a good, safe race out there last Thursday, and we'll expect more of that again tomorrow night.
Yep, tomorrow night, the Bergstrom Chevy Cadillac race tomorrow night out at WIR. Racing starts at 6:30. So we're looking forward to another great night out there. We got what is it, Mark? 5 divisions tomorrow. We got Wisconsin. No, we got more than that. We got Wisconsin Sport Trucks, Season 4, Super Stocks, late models, super lates, and figure eight. So we got 6 again. So no quarter mile late models, but it's going to be a great night of racing out for the Bergstrom Chevrolet Cadillac of Appleton, week number 2 there. So fan gates open at 4. Hot laps start at 4:20. That's with the quarter mile stuff happening before there, and then racing starts at 6:30. So hope to see everyone out there tomorrow night.
You said 4. It's actually 5 o'clock that the gates open, but you could go out there at 4 o'clock like I do. Just come on out, fans, at 4 o'clock, and I'll talk your ear off for racing and anything that you want to talk about. And then, but at 5 o'clock we go out, and then we come back in. 5:40 is qualifying, and then 6:30 we light the fuse.
Perfect. Looks like they have some updating to do with my race pass there, but I knew the quarter mile qualifying happens before the 5:40 half mile stuff gets going, and then they actually sprinkle in the super stocks and some things after as well for qualifying. But going to be a great night nonetheless out there. I'm just going to continue on with the racing theme here, and we'll talk about news after before looking forward. How about Austin Green winning the ARCA race at Charlotte out there? That was a cool race, huh?
Did you see proud Papa David Green? And he looks just like he used to. I mean, he aged really well. Looks like he could still be cranking on a wheel, man. He looked good.
My grandma's favorite driver back in the day was David Green. So I actually still have to talk to her about Austin Green winning that and seeing if she knows about it.
Yep. So yeah, he beat Enfinger. So that was Enfinger was coming like a freight train, man, and he got boxed in for 4th place and got the second. But yeah, Austin Green wins the ARCA race at Charlotte.
Jake Bowman would win the ARCA West Series at Colorado National Speedway. It would be his first win and Bill McAnally Racing's 100th win, so pretty special.
I have not seen any videos or anything come out of that track in Colorado. It looks like it's way out in the middle of the prairie somewhere, but it was always a decent track. But I haven't seen anything from that track, and God, it's got to be over a dozen years since I've seen anything from there.
Yeah. Formula One, then, of course, the start of the greatest day in motorsports every year. Lando Norris took that win there over Charles Leclerc and, or should I say Charles Leclerc, like they say on there. And of course, I'm joking a little bit. And Oscar Piastri ended up on the podium as well. But Lando Norris started on pole, was kind of the class of the field all day. Leclerc got fast there and almost caught Norris, but Norris was behind Verstappen there, who still had to make his second pit stop because remember we talked about this. Formula One instituted that rule where you had to make 2 pit stops. So that was a factor in the race, and Verstappen stopped late, and that handed the win to Norris. And once Verstappen pitted, Norris took off like a jackrabbit and was just gone from Leclerc.
I was busy that morning, but wasn't there a track blockage incident early in that race?
There was an incident going down where someone just couldn't check up fast enough. It's that turn right out of the tunnel there, that kind of chicane, and someone I forget who it was, but they got involved and hit the back end of, I think it was Yuki Tsunoda, who got hit there. But there was an incident there, and the whoever that was almost came across the tractor. I think it was Gasly, who got into Tsunoda there, and he almost came back on. He kind of went through the chicane, and it kind of continues on there. And there was a driver coming through the chicane, and it got close there as well.
Yeah, the picture I saw looked like a parking lot. Once what happened, I go, oh, okay, that doesn't surprise me none. But I caught the last 9 laps of that one. So Monaco, what a way to start the best day in racing.
I wonder if that was practice or qualifying there, because in the race there was really no big accident. That was like a parking lot, so that might have been qualifying or practice, which I did not.
Okay.
I take that back. I watched qualifying at the end. I saw Q3, so maybe it was earlier in qualifying, or maybe it was practice. But.
All right. Yep. So that's what I saw. I didn't. I didn't get to watch too much of that one.
The 109th Indy 500 then to be the middle of the day there. We're talking about it again. Delayed slightly by weather. Just super unfortunate. We talked about the disappointing lead up with all the Penske penalties and how it kind of seemed to damper the start of the race, getting into the race weekend. So then again, it was delayed slightly by rain. And then when it did get going, Scott McLaughlin was warming up his tires on the front stretch and just simply lost it with the cold tires and cold track that doesn't mix well with Indy cars, and he would wreck on pace slips there. And then also during pace laps, Dixon had a brake fire in the left rear of his car, and they would have to later change the rotor. So the first 3 laps were actually run under caution due to McLaughlin's incident there, but super unfortunate start of the race day.
Yeah, they told Dixon, just keep right on going and maybe it'll cool itself off. And that was a major fire going on inside that rim there, man. It was crazy. That pre-race, man, everybody knew Larson had to get out of there at a certain time. And he's sitting in the car looking at his watch and realized even after the race was everything that he would have had to abort to get to Charlotte. So, and he's already mentioned that don't look like he's going to do this again next year. I think he's already turned it down, doesn't like the idea.
Well, I think there's a couple of things to this. I love seeing someone attempt the double, but now we've seen it fail 2 years in a row. And I think it might be good. I'm not saying that it's not great for the sport and all that, but I think what makes it so special is it doesn't happen that often. And now that we've seen it fail 2 times from it, it kind of has this negative stigma where people are even debating, should Indy go back to starting an hour earlier like they used to? I mean, they start normally at what now, Mark? 12:30 their time, 11:30 our time. That's
Yeah.
still pretty early. And when you're talking even TV audience, you're thinking West Coast, you start that thing at 11:30. Some of those people are 8:30, 9:30 going out west. That's pretty early. So I don't know that that's possible. They're talking about, could you move Charlotte the 600 back? It already gets over at after 11 o'clock out there. How much later do you want that to go? So I just don't think the logistics of it, it's going to move, and I don't know that it should. But I think maybe if we have a year or two break of the double, and maybe let's try this again in a year or two, might be the right answer.
Well, that would have been something if Larson would have had all of a sudden just like, I have to come in the pits and park it, but he took care of the problem when he lost it in the corner and over in turn two, and unfortunate for him. And that ended it, so that gave him a little extra time. But boy, once they got to Charlotte, man, he was sitting in the car and on the front row ready to go. So, yeah, quite a busy day.
Yeah, and when he got in that car for Charlotte, they ended up talking to him right away, and I think there were some comments made during an early caution or something, and I looked at his face and I was like, he looks pretty wore out. I'm not saying that he's not up for the task, but it looked like mentally, after everything he went through at Indy, I mean, he crashed 3 times, and that's Kyle Larson is one of the best in the world. So, and a lot of people were struggling at Indy. So the people criticizing for him for that is wrong. Now there's that thing coming out with Scott McLaughlin crashing where he gives the thumb out outside his car, and people are taking that maybe out of context too. So IndyCar fans seem to not necessarily love Kyle Larson at the moment, but I think it's remarkable what he's attempted here. I wish last year would have went different because he had such a great run in the Indy 500 before he had to pit late there and have that penalty. Man, if last year would have went just a little different, he makes it back to Charlotte in time. That could have been just the ultimate day, but we will never know. And
Yeah.
I think maybe it's a good idea for maybe him to take a break from it because that's a taxing 2 years. And I think maybe for the rest too that are thinking to do it. I will say maybe you could have people go, back and forth. Maybe IndyCar drivers try the Coke 600, and maybe you have some mixing of going back and forth. Maybe that'll make it into something again as well eventually. But I'd be okay if we don't do a double next year. Although I say that now after what we've just witnessed the last 2 years, and if he announced or someone else announced they were doing the double again, I'd be rating it 100%. So,
But
um,
it's
I don't know.
circumstances that they can't control. The weather just throws a wrench in there that nobody can do anything about it. So that's the unfortunate part right there.
Yeah. When they did get going, they started on lap 4. Like I said, the first 3 laps under caution there. Then Marco Andretti got pushed wide in the first corner and he wrecked. So, and then after that, the caution came out for a little bit of moisture as well, which wouldn't last long, thankfully. But just a crazy start to the day. And, like I talked about, the lead up to the race, this first half of this race was crazy. But what are you going to do about it? Another big thing that happened was Rossi pitted with an issue. It looked like the race was kind of falling into his hands there, and he had an issue. Then they had a big fuel fire in the pits where that actually affected the fueler also getting on fire, and he would have to be brought to the infield care center. They had a different strategy, but it looked like it was going to be the right strategy. And that race, ever since he won it, the 100th annual back in 2016, this race has really bitten Alexander Rossi, and he hasn't taken again, but he's been close.
That's a scary fire, dude. That fire blew, went on and it's kind of, you don't see the flames that are like that, but you sure see people moving around. It gets hot pretty fast. And, when he got that out, that fueler, he kind of stood, leaned against the wall, and then he got over the wall. And then he decided he was going to lay down. That got really hot on him. They ran him over to the infield because they felt that was a place that he needed to be. I thought that was a strange comment.
Well, I think it's probably the right call. Never, you know,
Absolutely. But
you need to be checked out there. Um, more weird stuff that happened after that. VK would have a brake issue as he's coming to pit lane in wrecks on pit lane. The pole sitter, which should have been the story leading up to the Indy 500, rookie Schwartzman, he slid into his pit box and hit his crew pretty darn hard and the wall, and that would end his day.
them guys look like bowling pins. But that one guy that was on the one side by the tire, it got him in the ankle pretty good. So then sent another one over to the infield care center.
Yeah. After that, Larson would spin. He would collect Simpson and Robb. Um, Larson was kind of back in that traffic too because he stalled in the pits on the previous stop.
Yeah, and then Rob hit that tire barrier that comes over there in turn 2, and that was full of water.
Man,
That was full of water, just like wow. But it did what it was supposed to do, man. But it was pretty exciting to see that water flying after he hit that. Destroyed that race car doing it.
yeah, he took a shower while wrecking. That's for sure. It dumped into him, but man, that was a big hit for him as well. Glad he's okay.
Yeah. But then after that, man, things started to smoothen out, and then we started got to turn some laps. It turned into look like a normal Indy 500 then.
The second half of the race was awesome. Rasmussen had a big moment on the restart coming out of that caution, and the caution came out again, but he actually saved it. And it was amazing that no one ran into the back of him or while he was sliding around. I mean, that car was completely sideways, and how everyone missed him on that restart is incredible.
There's a little luck involved on that one, man. Everybody scrambled and nobody made contact.
Yeah. Newgarden was in contention again after starting last. He would have a fuel pressure issue, and his run for 3 in a row would not happen there. So that was unfortunate for him after working so hard to get himself in position late in the race.
He is apparently the favorite one of the network, man, because they sure like talking about him, didn't they?
I think you wanted me to talk about that because I made some comments off air on text messages that day because my texts were going through at the camper surprisingly, and yeah, they did show him quite a bit, going for 3 and all that. And I was like, there's other stories going on. In fact, there's racing going on and other storylines are happening, and they're, talking about Newgarden, getting out of the car, about 5 times. I was like, all right, let's move on here. But I get it. It's a storyline and a major one in that. But Connor Daly was another one that was in good shape there. He was running second, but had a pit with 34 to go, and he lost a few spots prior to pitting because he was slowing down majorly. His tires couldn't take it anymore. So, and then we were wondering, was he going to have to save fuel because that's a long way to go. It can be done, but you're still going to have to hit a fuel number, and would that take him out of contention, which it did.
Yeah, they were hoping for a caution at the end, and I don't think that ever came, did it? They ran it right straight out. So hard to save fuel, man. You can kind of draft, but at that speed and try to make it that far of a distance, man, that's a tough task.
Yeah, another one that was in great shape was Ryan Hunter-Reay. He was leading coming to his final pit stop, but he stalled in pit lane, so that would kind of be the end of him. And how about this? Marcus Ericsson had the right strategy, came out of the pit lane first, but he got past, and he didn't let Pillow go, but he was pretty easy into the corner. He was following some drivers that were about to get lapped, and he took it pretty easy in the corner, which I don't know that he had to, and Pillow pounced on it, and Alex Pillow would take the win. And when you're drafting up to those lap cars there, the second place or third place car can't do anything because you're all drafting, you're all pretty much the same speed, you're all getting a sniff of the draft, so passing becomes very difficult, similar to like it was a few years ago when Elio Castroneves won. Similar situation. But Alex Pillow would get his first win on an oval, any oval. It would be in the Indy 500. He's won 5 of 6 races, I think it is now. He's only lost 1 race there. Kyle Kirkwood won at Long Beach, I think it was. But Pillow got his first win there. Just an incredible event, incredible start to the season that the 3-time champion is having. Looks like he's well on his way to a 4th at the age of 28, by the way. So it was Pillow, Ericsson, Malukas, Award, Rosenquist, Kirkwood, Ferrucci, Rasmussen, Lundgaard, and Daly, or so we thought. That was before some disqualifications happened there. So Ericsson, who very well could have been the winner of this race, like I said, he got disqualified. So did Kirkwood in sixth place there. And also the number 90 Prema car got disqualified as well. So that was unfortunate to read about that. Can you imagine if Ericsson would have won and then they had to disqualify him a day later? Yikes.
Yeah, that would be a real heartbreaker. But yeah, the tech people are doing their job, man. They pinched them. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So the 90 was Callum Islet, by the way, and this was what was kind of said during during the technical expansion. So the 27 of Kirkwood and the 28 of Ericsson from Andretti were moved to the rear of the Indianapolis 500 field. They also got fined $100,000, and the team or competition manager for the three entries have been suspended for one race. They will serve that at the streets of Detroit this upcoming weekend. And this is kind of what they were penalized. So the 27 and 28 for Andretti had IndyCar discovered modifications to the Dallara supplied energy management system that covers their covers to A-arm mounting points with unapproved spacers and parts. So it goes from the EMS covers and cover to the A-arm mounting points. They had unapproved spacers and parts there. So according to IndyCar rulebook, EMS covers must be used as supplied. Additionally, these modifications provided the capability of enhanced aerodynamic efficiency to both cars. So obviously a huge deal, especially at a big track like Indianapolis. During the inspection of the 90 car of Callum Islet, it failed to meet the minimum end plate height and location specifications. So that's why the 90 team was penalized there. In addition to that, we should also mention that the number 6 Aero McLaren of Nolan Siegel wrecked on the last lap. So the race technically ended under caution, but that would have not affected the finish. Palou was going to win that race.
Yep. So that's the way it worked out. And yeah, they got the show in. He had a shower in the middle of the race, fought the weather. But they got it all worked out. Man, you see that place? It was packed. That place was full, man. It was good to see. First sellout, in 9 years? And man, they packed the house there.
When are we buying our tickets for the 110th?
You're in charge of that, man.
All right.
Let's do it.
It's on the bucket list. Got to do it at least once.
All right.
It's to me, it's the biggest event in the world.
But if you really want, you got to actually see pit road from your seat, because it seems like all the action, all the outcome of everything sure seems to happen on pit road, man. So I think to get a ticket, man, make sure that we can see pit road somehow, some way.
Yeah, I like the idea of sitting in coming out of turn 4, or in the middle of turn 4, maybe looking down pit road. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if it even comes together. But
maybe beggars can't be choosy, man. It better be early, man, to get a good seat. Yeah,
that's also true. Yeah. But India, the second half of that race was incredible. Cool to see Alex Palou continue his hot streak there. I think the second half of the race was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, Ganassi, man, he's a big old teddy bear. He was up there and happy and giving hugs and everything like that. So good to see that, man. Yeah, Alex Palou, man, if you're going to crown him, he keeps on going, man. They are going to crown him this year.
And, you think back to, what was it, 2 years ago or 3 years ago when Palou was supposed to leave Chip Ganassi Racing, and Chip Ganassi actually sued Palou because he was supposed to go to McLaren and maybe do some F1 stuff with IndyCar, and then Palou decides to stay after a year or two. It's kind of an interesting relationship, but Chip Ganassi likes winners, so I think they're both glad that he stayed.
And he's hot, man, and wow, we'll see how far that goes, man. Yep. So Detroit this week for them.
Yep. Then the Trucks series at Charlotte. That was Friday night, actually. Chastain led a few laps early, but it was Corey Heim who was dominant early on in stage one, or
Yeah,
late
that
on
was
in
a
stage one.
caution free. Yeah, so that was his seventh stage win, and hell, you might as well go with the caution free on the second one too. So he got his eighth one also. So
Yeah,
yeah, Corey Heim sure seems to be the man to beat, doesn't he? He's everywhere we go, man. Short tracks or we go to bigger tracks, he's always up front.
if they can shore up some of those mistakes or end of race situations, you're talking he could have 6, 7 wins already. So always one to watch.
Yeah, so he's the guy to beat. He's the one up front.
Really, the big incident that happened in the race was Ruggiero and Chandler Smith made some contact, and they reckoned the time of Jeske. Ty had nowhere to go, unfortunately, so that would kind of end his bid there. But Corey Heim, you're right, stays hot. He wins it over Chastain, Honeycutt, Riggs, Bush, Enfinger, Mills, Hemrick, Carruth, and Jones. He would also get the fastest lap, 30.409 seconds, or 177.579 miles per hour.
Yeah, Heim led 98 laps in that race, man. Chastain looked pretty doggone fast too, man, but not enough to catch that 11 truck.
They had a couple of close moments there as well throughout the race.
Yeah, it was still a very entertaining race, man. It was good stuff.
It was. The Xfinity Series then also at Charlotte on Saturday. Matt DiBenedetto had an issue in the back of the car on lap 1, so that was unfortunate. Byron would end up getting close to Zilich as Zilich was already loose and kind of packed some air on him, and that was almost a big incident. Boy, Chris Wright in that 5 team, they need a break. He got loose and spun. Our good friend Dan Stillman is the crew chief on that car. Perez had an issue and stopped on track as well. And then the funny moment in stage 1, which was interesting to hear, Eddie DeHaan, the spotter for Justin Allgaier, and Justin Allgaier had a funny moment coming to the end of the stage while battling his teammate of all things. And DeHaan asked, "What kind of bear is toothless?" And do you know the answer, Mark?
No.
A gummy bear.
Oh, I like the red ones where you bite their head off and then you kind of squeeze them and it looks like they're bleeding.
Oh
The
my
the red gummy bears. Yeah, man. That's about the only excitement I can get out of gummy bears.
Yeah, so but while racing, this is being said on the radio. So they were definitely loose and having some fun, which was a cool moment. It was cool to see, but very
Yeah.
funny.
And then and Byron with that 17. That 17's been rocking all year, man.
Yeah.
He won that stage, and then that Zilich was in second after that one. And you know what? A little bit later, we saw a replay of another good save when he tried to stay out of Gray later on.
Yeah. Byron would win the stage, like you mentioned. Briscoe got into the wall with a flat tire coming back to the green and white checkered. Sawalich would have an uncontrolled tire at the pit, so some mistakes there late on in stage 1. Unfortunately for Parker Retzloff, he also would have an engine issue in stage 2. And then after that was that great save that you talked about when he kind of made some contact with Taylor Gray there. Incredible. But Byron would go on and win the second stage as well. However, he was speeding during the pit stops.
Yeah, and you think that would have ruined his day and dropped him right off the map. Yeah, and so, but still had time to recover barely.
Love would get a pass-through penalty when the race got back going for going out of line too soon. Sheldon Creed would get into the wall and had have a tire issue and have to pit. Taylor Gray also had a tire issue, and debris came off of his car and onto the track. So that was in the middle of stops. So another caution in the middle of green flag pit stops. It seems like we're talking about that a couple times a weekend here.
But yeah, the caution's just coming out, and the crush panel went all flying all over the track. Yeah. So, and then a little bit later on, what about that Sam Mayer incident? What happened with him?
Yeah, Mayer would get into the wall and almost collect others, getting to pit road. Unbelievable. Did you see Sammy Smith get by that as well? Wow. Zilich was unhappy with Thompson because they had a little bit of a mix-up just before that. Thompson put him in the fence is what Zilich said there, and Thompson said he didn't mean to, but wow, Sammy barely got by there, and yeah, Mayer getting to pit road was a little bit of a scary incident.
Sammy Smith missed him by 6 inches, the wall and the car. It was just enough to fit through there. And he was just like, and that was a high speed deal, man. That would have been a nasty wreck if he would have collected him.
Know what it looked like to me? And it was like the perfect angle. Remember that video? I'm trying to think of who it was. Um, Gosh, I wish I could remember. It'll come to me after we do this, of course. But that
Of
sprint
course.
car, when there was a car parked up against the wall and he decided to ride the fence and get around it, the way Sammy Smith was coming into there, I thought he's going to ride the wall just like that sprint car. It was the same angle.
He committed to it, and once when you commit, man, and yeah, Mayer just got enough off the wall, man. There was just enough room to get through there. Sometimes luck is involved. I think there's a little luck involved on that one.
I would say. Briscoe would get more damage when Ellis hits the wall and he had nowhere to go. Eventually, he has to pit because of it. Quapple would also get in the wall and spin with 22 to go. Elgire, who was leading the race, Creed, Love, uh, Jeb Burton, and Perkins would all stay out. Elgire's team actually wanted him to pit, but Elgire made the decision to stay out there.
Yep. So he thought that he had all set, man, but these cautions kept coming, man. It kept tossing us all around, man. We didn't know how the finish was going to end up.
Then a lot of contact going into turn one. Perkins gets spun. Harrison Burton, Love, Sammy Smith, Eckes, Clements, Jones, Williams all get a piece of it. Zulich also had a bad tire rub. Just shortly after that, Yaley and Leg would make some contact and wreck. Wright also had a pit there. And then Jones would get into the wall. Honeyman couldn't avoid. They collected Kyle Sieg. It would go into overtime. And during the caution, Daniel Dye would have a wheel fall off.
There was so much going on here, dude. We couldn't keep up with it and ended up with a green-white checker finish.
And then what a save by Ryan Sieg in overtime. Byron and Elgire would make a little bit of contact. Jeb Burton would make some contact with Poole as well. They collected Sawalich. The caution would come out, but Byron would take the win over Zilich, Sanchez, Elgire, Sammy Smith, Thompson, Williams, Hill, Ellis, and Eckes. However, another disqualification came down. Sammy Smith got disqualified, so that would put Sheldon Creed into the top 10. Justin Allgaier would have the fastest lap of the race, 30.693 seconds and 175.936 miles per hour.
Yeah, Byron did a power move on Allgaier, man. They made contact. Allgaier got all squirrely, but that was a power move, and that's amazing what Byron, get pinched for a penalty after stage 2, and I think he was back further than the 20s, man, and he picked them off all one at a time and got to the finish. That was my pick, so that made me even double happy there, buddy.
I bet it did. Yep. Yeah, you had a good weekend there. Sammy got disqualified due to failing to meet minimum weight there. So they said it was just a miscalculation on their point. They are not going to appeal.
Yeah, so unfortunate for him there.
Mm-hmm. Then the Coca-Cola 600 for the Cup Series race. Larson would be having a great race early, but he got loose and into the wall as he was leading. He would still lead after that with no caution, but about 10 laps later, he would spin. Boy, it had been an interesting day for him. That was also in the middle of green flag pit stops once again. Brad Kozlowski had interference in the pits. Briscoe had an uncontrolled tire, and Belicki would also lose a wheel under this caution.
That was unfortunate for Larson when he spun and went across the grass and a little bit of pavement, from the roll. And he got some damage underneath the car. And every chance they could, they were working on that car and working on it, and it was just never right after that spin.
Yeah. Bowman would get loose, brush the wall, and spin. Byron would win the stage under caution. McDowell would miss his pit under this pit cycle, and Ty Dillon would get interference.
Yeah, but Bowman, that messed up pole link on him, man. That ruined his race right there.
Yeah. Johnson would get in the wall in stage 2. Custer and Zilich get together trying to avoid and also spin. And how about Chastain? Talking about Sammy Smith getting by. Chastain barely got by him and avoided. And Larson was right there as well, kind of following Chastain.
That Jimmy Johnson, though, dude, he just cannot get no luck in that 84 car. It has never had really a decent run, except for the Daytona 500. But this one here was a rather disastrous.
Yeah, and it was his 700th start, like we talked on the last podcast there. So kind of unfortunate how it went, but 700 starts, he's got to be awfully proud of that.
Absolutely, that's a long time. That's good stuff.
Close call for Stenhouse and SVG. Man, that was almost big. And then Byron would win stage 2 as well. Kyle Busch would spin out of turn 4 there at the end of the stage as well.
Byron had a 9-second lead, and he even backed off. Like 20 to go, and Hamlin was catching up a little bit, but then lap traffic got involved, and yeah, Byron won that second stage by 9 seconds. Thinking, oh boy, there's the guy to beat right there. It was quite obvious.
Mm-hmm. Ty Gibbs would hit the wall, and then a few laps later, Busch would also hit the wall. Zane Smith would crash hard down the backstretch. Under caution, Zilich would get a penalty for going through too many boxes, but Zane Smith, that was a hard hit, man.
That was a nasty hit. Yep, head on with the wall, and all the safety stuff all did its job there.
It did, yep. After that, Blaney, Briscoe, Suarez were 3 wide and make contact. They wreck and collect Larson and Haley, so Larson's day gets worse. Byron would sweep the 3 stages.
You know what? One guy I thought that might just pull this race off was Hocevar, but he blew it up early in the stage, man. That kid, all of a sudden, man, I tell you what, if they can keep their motors together, he is aggressive and he is getting some good finishes. It's kind of eye-opening on that. But yeah, see Chastain win with a backup car, dude. Backup car, because he wrecked the day before. Beats Byron, who led 283 laps, man. Talk about pure domination. Another one that had a very good run all day was, how about AJ Allmendinger, man? Yeah. He was in all the stages and finished fourth on that one. And hey, Keselowski gets his first top 10 of the year, not top 5, top 10, and he gets a 5th place finish, man. Yeah, I'd never lay a bet at Vegas to say that Keselowski wouldn't get a top 10 until the 600. So,
right.
Yep. That was interesting at the end. The pit stop before the last one, Hamlin's crew decided to take less fuel so that they could get out early, and they painted themselves right into a box when there was 6 laps to go. Hamlin was forced to come in and get to finish the race off because he was low on fuel. Total bad strategy on the Hamlin crew there, but wow, Chastain, man, he got to eat some fresh watermelon, crashed on the racetrack, man. No better than that, huh?
I don't like watermelon, and I want to taste watermelon off the racetrack.
Yeah. Put a little beer oil on it, right, huh?
That's right. Hey, I want to talk about that Hocevar incident that you talked about too, in the final stage here. He blew up while running side by side for the lead, dude. And remember back at the day before, week or two before the Daytona 500, I told you and everyone else listening to this that one of my storylines for the year was Spire and Front Row Motorsports. Which one's going to take the bigger leap this year? And it looked like Spire took 2 steps back. They were non-competitive in the Daytona 500. It looked like they went back to their old save cars. Don't progress, just save cars. They're the Daytona 500. We just want to finish, don't wreck. So they were never up front. Then Hocevar goes to Atlanta and almost pulls off the win there and says, I'm not riding in the back anymore. And it seems like that kind of has gradually flipped their season to where Hocevar, McDowell has been close. Haley's had some issues. So there's something going on with that 7 car, and he's had some bad luck, to be frank. But Hocevar has been by far the best. McDowell's right there as well, showing a lot of speed. But they have definitely taken a big leap here after those first few races, where I was like, I think they're taking 2 steps back here. In addition to that, they let Rodney Childers go, which I thought was a massive mistake. But even when Rodney got let go, he said, I think you're going to start to see the progress that we were talking about and made in the offseason start to come to fruition. And are we ever? Because Hocevar could have 2-3 wins. McDowell could have snuck one in there. He's been fast. His pit crew won the pit crew challenge at North Wilkesboro and took home that 100,000. Spire is a sneaky team to watch going forward here. They've had a lot of success here.
I agree with you 100%. Over at front row, Gregson's been top and getting top tens, but they need a little bit more work on their side. But yeah, the Spire looks really good, man. They're all pointing in the right direction.
Yeah. Hamlin would get the fastest lap there, 29.367 seconds or 183.880 miles per hour. I'll just recap the kind of the top 10 and what happened at the end of the race there. You did a great job of saying everything there. So Hamlin's team you talked about, they ran out of fuel with 11 to go, so he had to stop. He was a top 3 car for the majority of the race, so that was a huge mistake, like you said. Chastain caught Byron and passed him with 6 to go, and it was like, where did he come from? He started dead last in the Coke 600 and took home the win in a backup. So he took the win. I'm just going to recap the rest of the top 10 now. So Chastain, Byron, Briscoe, Allmendinger, Keselowski, Elliott, McDowell, Bell, Preece, and Gregson. It was an awesome race. Sometimes if there's a lot of cautions in the 600, it can seem like it takes 5 hours to get over. This one seemed like it kind of progressed nicely, and it had a nice flow to it.
Still ran pretty late though, dude. I was getting pretty tired after all these miles we watched, man. It was, once when it was over, it was a good day, but I was starting to feel it. I was past my bedtime, man.
Maybe it's because I watched it on replay too, where I could fast forward through the commercials and the double box and stuff like that, because I had to watch it the next day. But yeah, all in all, a great Sunday, a great weekend. All the short track stuff that we talked about, the NASCAR stuff, the Indy 500, Formula One. What a phenomenal weekend there, and can't wait to do some more of it here.
All right, there's another weekend coming up this weekend, man. We're going to do some more.
We are. I just want to talk about some news here quick before we look forward. Remember I talked about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum being built by the De Pere, Wisconsin company here, pretty local to us. It's called Balance Studios out of De Pere. They designed the interactive exhibits in the museum, a high-tech transformation of over 40,000 square feet down there. So I did some research and found that out. Also, Russ Thompson, a researcher who has worked for several networks and has been an integral part of what you have seen on air and IndyCar telecast, earned the Robin Miller Award for someone who isn't always in the spotlight but makes significant contributions to the sport. So I thought that was well deserved. Also, Chip Ganassi Racing strategist and team manager Barry Wanzer was also honored with a Robin Miller Award. Wanzer is currently the strategist for Alex Palou, so he had a phenomenal weekend there, a well-deserved award, and then winning the Indy 500. And then also what happened over the weekend in the Indy 500 is Scott Dixon now holds the most career IndyCar starts at 408. He surpassed Mario Andretti. So kudos to Scott Dixon, who's had a phenomenal career, including 6 championships. So if his teammate wins 4, that might be in jeopardy. But what a career that keeps going on for Scott Dixon.
Wow, I didn't know he was around that long, man. So all right, good deal. 408, that's a lot of racing, man.
That's a lot. And considering they do what, 20-ish, 21, 22 starts a year, not like the Cup Series that does 36, 37. So yeah, pretty impressive for Scott Dixon.
Yeah, very impressive.
Some other news here. Australian Supercars driver Jack Perkins will make his Xfinity Series debut in the Joe Gibbs Racing number 19 car in August at Portland. Daniel Suarez is going to drive for Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity race at Mexico City. He will be in the number 9 car and will have sponsor from Quaker State. We've seen Quaker State sponsor Daniel Suarez over the last few years, so no surprise there. Also, some news regarding the Mexico City Xfinity race. There's 39 to 40 teams planning on going down there. So NASCAR is going to increase the field from 38 to 40. If a 39th or 40th qualifier, if they are the 39th or 40th qualifier, they won't get points or money, and the finishing position won't be used awarding points, but no one would get playoff points if they win a stage or race. To kind of recap that, Bob Pockris has kind of put this together. So, for instance, if the 39th qualifier wins the race, the second place driver earns first place points, but doesn't get the playoff bid associated with it, nor the playoff points. The third place driver would earn second place points, etc. So you don't get the playoff exemption, but just something to keep in mind. I know that's a lot to take in here.
All right, that's after Michigan, so that's a couple weeks out here.
Yeah. William Byron signed a 4-year contract extension through 2029 with Hendrick Motorsports. So no surprise there. They are a great team coming together. So no surprise that they extended there. Tom Cruise has confirmed that he's in talks to shoot a sequel to Days of Thunder. So a sequel to Days of Thunder might be coming out. Obviously a classic racing film. So I always worry about when they do sequels though, Mark.
But now we got AI doing it. So you just never know, man. We could actually really see some really good stuff. So
yeah,
I'll keep open on that one.
The appeals panel cut the regular points penalty for Buescher and team from 60 points to 30 points. Remember, this stems from Kansas. The rest of the penalty remains, so they lost 5 playoff points, 2 race suspension to the crew chief, which has been already served, and the $75,005 to the team still stuck, but 60 points to 30 points. So they pretty much just took away one of the parts of the penalty.
Yeah, so the gray area is just a little lighter gray. So yeah, all right, but still 30 points to lose is still a lot.
NASCAR modified the rulebook on vehicle weight as far as driver weight. The driver weight determines minimum vehicle weight. So drivers get weighed typically prior to the season. Now it looks like they will get weighed multiple times to keep them from trying to add weight for a weigh-in. So minor adjustment there. And then last thing I got for news, this was interesting to me because we went to Prime Video and streaming here. So I was curious how it did. They got 2.72 million viewers for the Coke 600 on Sunday. This is according to Nielsen panel and big data figures. The first Premier Series race to be exclusively digitally streamed in the 77-year history of NASCAR was the Coke 600. Last year's rain shortened event on Fox got 3.103 million viewers. So they lost a little bit by going to Prime maybe, but still was pretty good. Also, Prime Video got 800,000 viewers in the age group, the demographic of 18 to 49-year-olds for Sunday's race, which beats all NASCAR races that have been on cable, but not broadcast TV since at least 2022. So the post-race show also got 1.04 million viewers, which lasted over an hour. So overall, I think it was very successful first attempt on Prime. I'll be curious to see what you think. You were one that I tried to help set up here. I helped set up my grandma and my mom. I hope everyone's setup was pretty easy. I think after what I was telling you, Mark, after you get signed in, it's pretty easy. It's like a normal TV app nowadays. You can even add it to your watch list. So I thought it was pretty easy once you got logged in, like I said last time too. What was your experience with Prime and what did you think of it?
Well, I'll tell you what, I put everything on the watch list and everything, and I could watch it. But when it came to getting the payment to pay for it for the 30 days, it would not accept at this time, come back later. And it went around and around with this. And finally, all of a sudden, it got to be race time. And I just like, well, this sucks. There was nothing I could do. It would not accept it. So I went to YouTube. And YouTube actually had it live and said, well, this will work. And it ran for about 30 laps. And then this big square comes up and said, and it only took like the middle of the screen and said that there was infringement rights that were detected. But that stayed that way all the way till the halfway mark when they shut the cars down. Well, then that got cut off. I said, okay. So I went back to YouTube. Well, now NASCAR had their square up, and this square was smaller. And it said, if you take a donation, if you give a donation, it didn't say where, that they would accept, they would take that box off your screen. Well, I didn't push on that. I was just happy along. I could see the score and I could keep up with it. The announcers were there. And it lasted till 50 laps to go, and then everything got cut off. There was one guy that was on there, and he's got kind of like a computer screen, and people were complaining, and he said, well, the only reason why you're complaining is I only had 100 people on here. He says, now I have 3,000 because you all got dumped off of there, and he was trying to do the best, and he was wearing an 11 Denny Hamlin, so he was a diehard Hamlin, and he was rooting for him, and it was all sour grapes when he found out that he was kind of doing the play-by-play as you're watching the computer list, and yeah, it was sour grapes for him when Hamlin went in, and that worked out for me, but I just can't figure out why Prime would not accept my application. Talked to other race fans. They would sure like to set it up where they could record. I guess that's not an option for this either. Actually, the friends around me more complained about it more than it was. Like my mom up north, all of a sudden doesn't even have a computer, so she's left out. Unfortunate there. We'll just muddle through these next 5 weeks, man, and we'll move on. I'll probably figure out that I'll probably watch it on YouTube again like I did last year. So for you fans out there that can't get it through Prime, just check out YouTube and see that you can actually watch most of the race with a with a little box in the middle of the screen, but that didn't bother me.
Well, I'll see you tomorrow night, so we'll try to figure that out, and maybe that'll help people in the future. I'm surprised by that. I'm not sure what you're talking about is not taking payment, but I'll take a look at it for you because they got that free trial and should be all set for you. So interesting that they had it on YouTube, or maybe it was someone streaming where they shouldn't, like you said, the infringement and all that. But I'll be curious. I'll try to set you up on your phone tomorrow night. We'll get you all set up so that way you don't have to deal with the box, and maybe that'll help us get some other people to get it as well. Because once you log in and do all that, it's simple. So
yeah, because I've got Peacock and stuff like that, and that everything works that direction. For some reason, it just I don't know if the application but every time that I pushed on it, it would just say cannot accept at this time. Try again later, and so I went through Roku and went that direction through there, and I tried it through Roku and that didn't work, and I tried through Wi-Fi and that didn't work. Finally, I just got frustrated with it and says, well. All of a sudden, I found it on YouTube, and that was good enough for me.
All right. Well, I'll take a look at it tomorrow night for you, buddy. So we'll get that figured out, so you don't have to deal with that. So should be pretty simple. So once we get it set up for you, we'll be ready to roll, and maybe that'll help us help some other people. So it'll be cool for me to see.
All right, man.
As far as looking forward here. IndyCar this upcoming weekend in Detroit. This is the TV schedule for them. 1 o'clock on FS2 on Friday is NXT practice or next practice. 2:05 on FS2 is IndyCar practice. It'll be in the 70s with 40% chance on Friday. Saturday on FS1, 7 o'clock is Indy next practice. 8:05 will be IndyCar practice. 10:30 will be next qualifying, and 11:20 will be IndyCar qualifying in the 60s with 5% chance on Saturday. And then Sunday, 8:32 on FS1 is IndyCar warm-up. 9:36 on FS1 is IndyCar next, the race, 45 laps. 11:30 on Fox's pre-race. 11:52 on Fox IndyCar series goes green, 100 laps in the 60s with 10% chance. NASCAR heads to Nashville Super Speedway this upcoming weekend. On Friday at 3:05 on FS1 is truck practice and qualifying, and then at 7 o'clock the truck race will get going. Stages of 45, 50, and 55, in the 70s during the day, 60s at night with 45% chance. Saturday then 105 on the CW app, Xfinity practice and qualifying. Then 3:30 on Prime Video, Cup practice and qualifying. 6:30 on the CW Xfinity race will get going. Stages of 45, 45, 98 in the 70s with 10% chance. And then Sunday at 6 o'clock on Prime Video, the Cup race will get going. Stages of 90, 95, and 115 in the 70s with 30% chance. We have to make our picks here as well, buddy. So let's start with the Truck Series. I get to go first. I'm going to take Kyle Busch back-to-back weeks here. Hopefully he can finish on top this weekend.
Yeah,
And
that's
the defending winner here at Nashville is Christian Eckes, so he's not in the field.
And Christian Eckes led 150 laps in that race and won both stages. So I'm going to take the guy that's worked for me the last time I picked him, that all of a sudden that 19's got the setup and we got the driver. And Hemrick, I think, got a 9th last year when he raced in the Cup. So he knows how to get around there. So guess what? Daniel Hemrick is my pick for the truck race.
Good pick by you there. Should be a fun battle to watch. For the Xfinity Series, I also get to go first. This guy has found some success there. He just won the Cup race this past weekend. He's going to be in a Junior Motorsports number 9 car. I'm going to go with Ross Chastain, and the defending winner out there is John Hunter Nemechek.
Yeah, that's a good pick by you, man. So, hey, this week finally, Eric Almirola gets back into the series, and we know how he can get around, in the Xfinity Series. So I'm going to just throw the 19 at you. So I got the 19 on the truck race, and I got the 19 on the Xfinity race. Real easy for me to remember.
The Cup Series, then you get to go first, but first the defending winner is Joey Logano.
That is not true. You get to go first. I had Byron. I should have won, but Chastain beat me at the end. So you get to pick first here.
My apologies. I'm going to go with Ross Chastain. The one guy I really thought about taking here who's had a lot of successful runs, Tyler Reddick. I believe he had a bad finish last year, but he actually won the first stage. The year before that, or maybe I'm mixing up the years, he had stage finishes of 3rd and 4th while finishing inside the top 10. And before Tyler Reddick got to 2311, Kurt Busch also had a top 10 finish. So that 45 car is one that I got my eye on this weekend. The thing that kind of took my eye away from it is how they've been running lately and the bad luck they've had. But keep your eye on the 45. I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled out a win or had a good day. But I'm going to go with Ross Chastain, who won last weekend, so I got him twice this weekend, and he's had a win down there at Nashville Super Speedway before. So Ross Chastain is my pick.
Reddick had a 2nd in the first stage, 3rd, and then a 5th in the first 3 stages, and then got caught speeding in the 4th stage, and that screwed him. Otherwise, the 45 would have been there waiting for the end. But I looked at that too, but I'm going to take somebody else that won there, I think, back in 22, and he's been running good. He didn't have a good run there last year, but hey, I'm going to throw Chase Elliott at you, man. I'm going to throw another Hendrick car at you, and we're going to use engine number 9, and that's the one I'm going to pick for the Cup race.
All right, man. It should be another fun weekend. Thank you to Lowell Bennett. Thank you, Tim, with the Corp Racing, Ben and Carrie Valley Gasket. Again, all that you do for us, it's amazing, and it was a great discussion with Lowell Bennett earlier. Can't wait to have him back on and talk to him tomorrow night. So join us out there for Bergstrom Chevy Cadillac of Appleton, week number 2 with the Fox River Racing Club. Qualifying, fan gates open at 5 mark, 5:40 qualifying, and 6:30 racing gets underway there. So hope to see you all tomorrow night for another week of racing at Wisconsin International Raceway. And hey, man, we'll talk to you soon.
Come on out at 4 o'clock. That's when I'm out there. And any fans come out, I'll talk racing with you. So I'm looking forward to see you out at the track tomorrow night.
See ya.
This has been a production of Lore Sports. Hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you for listening.